Civil Service Association of Western Australia. It's a collection of letters. It's the state's public sector trade union. A little bit about me, for what it's worth. I left school incredibly early with no qualifications whatsoever, and had a keen interest in all things LGBTIQ and all things in terms of women's rights as well. And somehow ended up working in the public sector in the UK, and then somehow ended up as a full-time elected trade union official for one of the biggest branches in the country, in Majesty's Revenue and Customs, which was interesting. So that's a tax office, if anybody was wondering. And then basically I ended up here as well, applied for a role with the union and came to work here. In and amongst all that, I'm a fifth-year PhD student, doing PhD in gender and leadership on the community and public sector union. So that's no mean feat. Doing a PhD on the place where you work is interesting, particularly when you're doing ethnographic research. I've also got 2 master's degrees, one in resource management, boom is boom, and the other one in research. So I've been busy. Certainly, how I met Jamie was through an alliance called Some More Equal Than Others that I formed a few years ago, which hasn't been doing a great deal since we had a small win, and that forms part of the case study later on in the session, so you'll hear more about that then. Awesome. That's me.
Cool. So, given today's topic, for anyone that's kind of forgotten why you're here, I'll cover that in a second. So, given today's topic is facilitation, leadership, and decision making, you can kind of get why we asked Trudy to come and be a part of the conversation, right? So, Trudy brings a breadth of experience and lived experience here and also overseas, which is really exciting for us to share within the movement. So, I want to cover a little bit of who's in the room because, you know, there's us up here, but as we know, community organising and facilitation isn't about that. So, we've got all of you guys in the room, but also, how many people do we have online, Karun? Who's online? Hey, John. Joan from Bunbury, I'm dedicated campaigner. What we're wanting to make sure we do with these training sessions is that we provide the facility for people that are not here in Perth to be able to access the training. So we're going to get better and better as we do that, and today we're going to be just trialing how we make this work and stuff. So just bear with us. If for some reason there's something that you're saying that you don't want Joan to know about and the other people that are coming on, then head to that side of the room. But also it means that make sure that everybody in the room can hear you, but also we've got microphones and video. Are we recording this as well?
We are.
So we're also going to record this so that we can then have it available for people afterwards if people are interested in the content and the topics after that. Exciting, hey? I think so. Can't get too excited though, I'll have a coughing fit. It'd be terrible. All right. I know. We got writing. So we're just going to go through the agenda, then I'll give you a very, very brief bit of Perth Community Organising Collective, then we'll get right into some exercises. So the agenda for today. So given that we're training in facilitation, leadership and decision making, it's kind of interesting because it means that the spotlight's on us to, you know, how are we actually doing in our facilitation practice. And one of the things that people that know me is I wing it a lot. And it's hilarious, right? So Trudy and I, and in the next exercise, we'll let you into a little bit about where we sit on the compass that we're going to look at. It's been blatantly obvious, I would imagine. But so we work very, very differently. And I forget frequently to practice the things I then train people in doing in facilitation. So anyway, I've done a good thing today, and we have an agenda, and it's for everybody to see. Now, Karun did, well, it's over there. Well, it's very little, but it's there, right? Karun did point out that good facilitation practice is also allowing people to participate in the creation of the agenda, but I said it's training, so tough look. So, tough look. Look, sitting next to me, oh shit, that's nice stuff. All right. So welcome and intro, that's kind of where we're at the moment. I'm just going to give you a little bit of background on the Organising Collective. I'll try and make it a little different for those of you that have heard it before. Then we're going to do a conversation around leadership, and we're going to use a particular cool tool called the Leadership Compass. We're then going to have a look at exploration of the themes, so leadership, facilitation, and decision making. We'll go through a case study. How exciting is that? It's like actually like written down and prepared. It's amazing. It's real. I clearly did not do that for the work. Then we'll look at the outcomes of that case study, and then we'll kind of make some shit up. We'll debrief, that's my bit, and then we'll do a wrap up. And it includes a couple of survey questions that I'd like you to fill in before you go. If anyone is leaving for any reason during the night, just say something to Kylie and Simone, just so that we know that it's not that we offended you, or, you know, and in case there's any feedback that you have before you go. Any questions about the agenda or logistics?
That's good.
Okay, cool. So, Perth Community Organising Collective, we actually have a code of conduct. We think this is pretty cool. Now again, it is open to being explored and contributed to, but not right now because we don't have time for it. But if there's something massive we've missed out, please do shout out and we can kind of add it on here. So our code of conduct is be willing to be challenged and open to different ideas. Actively practice and apply the learnings in your community and work. So one of the things is we're here to learn. This is a sharing learning community, and that goes for all of us, including those of us that are organising the training and our attendees. So we invite people to really remember, you know, sometimes a lot of us are often in teaching positions, or we're in positions where we're kind of setting the agenda in some way. Sometimes it's really important to just put that aside and actually be here listening for what's new in this, where's the gold in this conversation. Share wisdom, experience, insights and skills to benefit others in and outside of the Organising Collective. So, you know, this is not about we have lots of knowledge that we're going to put into your empty brains. This is that we are a community with immense wisdom and knowledge, and we all need to learn from that. We want to lift others up and strengthen the entire movement. The reason that we created the Perth Community Organising Collective was because as a progressive movement, we saw that there were things that we were doing that weren't working, and there were things that we needed to do that we just didn't have the skills to do. So the whole reason for the Perth Community Organising Collective is actually so we can shift our society's values so that we can actually create a just and sustainable society and a just and sustainable future. And in that, we need to collaborate, we need to work together, we need to build things up. We want to actively reflect and deconstruct cultural and systemic forms of oppression and privilege, like patriarchy. What to Jamie? So in our planning, we talked about how many times we could say patriarchy.
I said I wasn't going to say it at all.
Only tonight. So she promised that she'd say it. All right, so now, on to me. So actively reflect and deconstruct cultural and systemic forms of oppression and privilege. So, you know, whether that's gender, whether that's race, whether that is our sexuality, you know, whether that's our ability. You know, most of us here, we all have similar levels of ability. So we want to always be looking at how are we benefiting from these things and how are we excluding or including people within our conversations. We want to maintain a safe, respectful and confidential environment for speaking and listening. And really important for organisers, do not use the space or each other to recruit or campaign. I will repeat that. Do not use the space or each other to recruit or campaign between the hours of 6 p.m. and 8 p.m. Then it's free reign. And actually that also goes to our Facebook page. So we actually do moderate that quite tightly. It is a sharing environment. It's not to promote events. It's not to put, so we do put training events on there, for example, but it's not to put the latest rally or protest or events and things like that on. So we are trying to keep it quite directed towards the learning and the development that we want to do. Anything I've missed off there? Any questions anyone has? Any clarifications? Yeah?
I think what could be perhaps appropriate is if you're building an alliance for a campaign, then you might need to talk to people within the
Nice, Simone.
but not between 6 and 8.
So of course, what happened last that's the only reason I'm not organising it. So of course, the job here is build relationships and then have those relationships benefit our work collectively, right? So absolutely meet someone, share contact details with them, have cups of tea afterwards, look at how we can collaborate and look at where those points of commonality are. Absolutely go for that. just be mindful that people here are already in their campaign. They're not here to be told that your campaign is more important than theirs. And because we know that actually my campaign is the most important campaign, right? So we're not doing that. We're not doing the whose campaign is more important, and we're not doing the you need to come onto my campaign kind of conversation. But we are about building alliances. We are about breaking silos down. We are about working more effectively across Western Australia, and the world. All right. So, right. So we're going to go into an exercise now. So any questions before we get up and do an exercise? No? All right. So if you've got drinks, just be mindful because we're going to move tables and chairs around and stuff. You don't need any of your things unless you're the kind of person that needs to write lots of notes, but you don't need to for this exercise. Push chairs away, stand in the middle, and we're going to go through a process. Yes. Okay, so how many people, has anyone here done the leadership compass before? Hands up, I know. A couple of people. How many people have done like diagnostic processes for like your personality style or your leadership style? How many people hate them? Don't be proud, I hate them. I really do. I don't like diagnostic tools because I think often they kind of make out that we're fixed. Like you are that way and that's the way you are and that's the way you're always going to be. So I kind of rile against them. But I did this exercise in a community organising training a couple of years ago. I found it hilarious. A little bit too, yeah, anyway, kind of saw some things about myself, having done about 10 years of personal development that I'd never seen before, that I was like, oh, that's kind of really interesting. And that's why my campaigns look the way they do. That's why my teams look the way they do. And so hopefully there'll be some really juicy learning in here for that. And those of you that have done this before, please just do it as if you're doing it for the first time. And still, Joan, anybody else online?
Jared was briefly here.
Okay, cool. So whoever may be online, you can do this exercise by just declaring in the messages where you would stand, and then we'll engage in a conversation afterwards. So, anyone actually know where north is? Yes. That way? Okay, so as in like that way or that way? So okay, north is over there, right? North is over there, east is over there, south over there, west over there. We'll keep it kind of within the circles, right? So don't go outside if you're like, I'm so south, I'm like next door. No, just keep it, right? So I'm gonna read the different styles of leadership, and I want you to think about where would you place yourself. So you don't need to go there straight away, you can kind of listen to them. But if you're clear, then move in that direction. And it may be that you're like, oh, I'm kind of in between a couple, but you may feel that you're more one than the other. You can be in an in-between space, but be closer to one than another if you can. Try and define it. Yeah, so it could be that you're northwest, but like have a think, are you more west or are you more north? And then stand kind of on the west side of north. All right. So now this exercise, we'll send it to you for anyone that's interested, and it's actually based on a Native American process of the healing for the medicine wheel, but it's been adapted for Australian use. So the animals we use will be Australian animals, but that's not in this document that you will get. So, so sorry. All right, where's my piece of paper? Okay, so consider in your campaigning, so not in your home life, not in your, not in the bedroom. I don't know why I thought that, but anyway, in your organising, in your community organising, in your campaigning, what are you more like? So are you more like North? North are the kangaroos. All right, so they're the kangaroos, and it's about results. They're assertive and active and decisive. They like to determine courses of events and be in control of professional relationships. They enjoy challenges presented by difficult situations and people, and they think in terms of the bottom line. They're quick to act or decide, expressing urgency for others to take action. They persevere. They're not stopped by hearing no. They probe and press to get at hidden resistance. They like variety, novelty, and new projects. They're comfortable being in front. Their values, action-orientated phrases are do it now, I'll do it, and what's the bottom line? Americans, we have slightly different versions of that, right? Now, you can also think, okay, so you can also think there are organizations that fit in these different areas. So you might want to think in this process or the campaign, you go, okay, well, I might be here, but actually my organization is in this place. So an example we had in Australia 2 years ago, I think it might be slightly different, was we talked about Greenpeace are often Norths, right? Think, act, go do something straight away. Like there's not a lot of thinking sometimes. Like they just jump in and kind of cause an action. Like was one of the descriptions of that organization. Get up also, very much kind of on the front, like let's go, let's go, let's go, let's go, oh, let's go. Yeah. So anyway, maybe you're North. Maybe you're South. South are dolphins. It's all about relationships. They understand how people need to receive information in order to act on it. They integrate others' input in determining direction of what's happening. They're value-driven regarding aspects of professional life, and they use professional relationships to accomplish tasks. Interactions are a primary way of getting things done. They're supportive to colleagues and peers. Willingness to trust others' statements at face value. Feelings-based. Trust. They trust their own emotions and intuition is regarded as truth. They're receptive to others' ideas, they build on ideas, team player, and they're non-competitive. They're able to focus on the present, and they value words like right and fair. So there are dolphins. All right, so we've got our kangaroos. It's about like, let's get into action, let's do something, let's make a decision, let's go. We've got our dolphins. It's about the feelings, it's about the interactions, it's about the people. It's about the process. Maybe you're East. So East would be your eagle. They're the vision holders. They're visionary and they see the big picture. They're generative and creative thinkers and they're able to think outside of the box. They're very idea-orientated and they focus on future thought. They make decisions by standing in the future, in their insight and their imagination. Their insight into missions and purposes, and they look for overarching themes and ideas. They're adept at and enjoy problem solving. They like to experiment and explore. They have an appreciation of a lot of information, and they value words like option, possibility, and imagine. All right, so they're your East. Ready? Yeah. So there you go. Then we have our Westerlies. Where's the Westerlies?
Probably on the desk.
It was written really well. I know it, so I can tell you. That's so funny. No, that's not it. That's so hilarious, given what Westerly's about. All right, here you go.
Yeah.
Understand what information is needed to assist in decision making. It's funny that I lost the West. Speak as practical, dependable, and thorough in tasks and situations. All right. Provides planning and resources. Is helpful to others. Is helpful to others in these ways and comes through for the team. Moves carefully and follows procedure and guidelines. Don't lose pieces of paper. Uses data analysis and logic to make decisions. Weighs all sides of an issue. Balanced, introspective, self-analytical, and critical thinking. Skilled at finding fatal flaws in an idea or project. Maximizes existing resources and gets the most out of what's been done in the past. And values words like objective and analysis. All right. So we'll just recap. We have our kangaroos, action, thinkers, doers, progress, make moves, decide on stuff. We have our dolphins, about people, feeling, trust, intuition, process. We have, I forgot to tell you what you are. We have our wombat. Wombat, in the details, in the dirt, and wanting to know logic, process, understand things. You can't be in the middle. All right, so for this exercise, I don't want you to stand in the middle. I want you to choose one direction more than another.
Depends on the group you're in.
You just pick one group. Eagle. So they're the visionaries, they're the future thinkers, they're the people that can make decisions based on future thought, imagination. They appreciate lots of information, but it's very much about where, like, kind of that big brand. All right, so we've got wombat, kangaroos, eagles, and dolphins. Find yourself somewhere and not be in the middle. So which you somewhere, think of this page, and which you okay. Work out which is preference.
I feel like a boy now. You guys be like sound. Introspection.
Alright, just a couple more minutes to work it out. And while you're, is everyone kind of clear? So for those of you that are in like, oh, I'm this and that, which do you preference? So think of a campaign you're working on, think of an area of work you're working on, which is it you preference? And go more towards that. Does that make sense? So if it comes down to Karen, can you choose that? So Karen just now was saying she's in between north and south because she's very much for the action, but she also thinks we really need to listen to people and we really need to process. I said, which do you preference? And she's like, yeah, this. Right? So you are going to be more one way or another. All right? Okay. So now what I want you to, yes?
In preference, you mean what we actually do or what we think we should do?
Actually do. The important thing about leadership and facilitation is you've got to know yourself, right? You have to know yourself, because if you don't know yourself, how can you possibly work effectively with other people? So the reason we're doing this exercise is so that we actually explore ourselves a little bit better and we understand how we work, but we also understand how that works with other people in our teams. Yeah? So just want to, so how are you going there, Lindsay? I actually think you're a bit wombat-like, but anyway. So I think you're a bit wombat-like. I don't know Lindsay at all, but the fact that she needs to read the piece of paper and go through the information kind of suggests a little wombat-like. Come on.
Where's the wombat one?
Alright, what I like you to do.
So you don't want your
Okay.
bottoms being analysed.
Of course it is, right? And like, I totally get it, right? But work with it for us. Just learn what you can get out of it. So with the people that are nearest to you, I want you to have a conversation about what's really great about you, right? What's great, not personally about you, but like, what's great about that leadership style? What's really good about the way that you guys work out and make decisions, the way that you work in teams? What's really great about your particular leadership? If you find you're standing and there aren't people within arm's distance, just kind of grab some near you, okay? Okay, you guys, you need to define a little bit more. So kind of work out where you're going to be. Tell people what's great about your style. I'm just going to interrupt a second. I just hold a second. If you're in one of these bigger groups, could you split into slightly smaller groups so that everybody gets a chance to speak? So just split up a little, just to make sure everyone in your group gets to share a little bit about what's great about that particular type of leadership. So just keep going, just another 2 minutes time. Hold on, let's be all. I understand.
macro spectrum vision is like the
Very much.
I love like issue that.
why are we doing
Yeah. It's always, it's funny because people think using macros when you're in the air, you don't change so much. It's like saying these people both go down, you know, like, that is been like an analysis.
Oh, how would you like to know? No, I'm not one of them. I think I can do it and I have the skill. I think if we enjoy that, doing the results, maybe you would hate it when people should stop. Maybe like all right, 30 seconds left. Because I can see myself jumping.
That's Brian, my clients. So
Okay, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and finish. All right. So now, in your groups now, again, please do this in smaller groups because otherwise not everybody will get time to speak. Now I want you to look at what are some of the challenges about being your direction. What are some of the difficulties about being your direction? I know, the North like, what? There are difficulties? How can there be difficulties? We're such a cat with North and it's fun. Now I should go ask the South about difficulties with North and then let me tell you.
I want to go away and think about it.
This is exactly what starts happening, right? This is what we want to start. Now none of what's going to come out of people's mouths is personal, right? But actually this is the kind of stuff. So when I did this exercise, it won't surprise many of you that I was kind of in here, right? So I was like, go inside it out, here's the vision that I've got, and we're going to go do it, right? And I was very clearly here. When we went round, I was like, oh my God, the feelings people. It's all about the people. It's like, I mean, I like people, that's why I do this work, but can we not have it be about the people? So it was really interesting going into the like, yeah, wow. And then when I looked at my team, I was like, that's why that person doesn't work with me very well, or I don't work with them very well, because I actually had no regard whatsoever for that entire side of the company. Now I'm sure you're all much better than me, but I was like, let me tell you about the wombats. Let me tell you about how annoying the wombats are, right? And let me tell you about the thinking, feeling people. So you need to kind of get to that level of honesty, right, with yourself. So what are the difficulties about being your direction? If only the wombats would give me 3 bullet points on a post-it note instead of writing them on parade and trying to tell me all the reasons why my idea isn't going to happen, right? So what are the difficulties about your direction? And then what are some of the difficulties about the other direction? All right, not personal. Okay, not Simone. Right, Simone, oh my God. Oh, yeah, so not that. Yeah, so not. Wombats spoil fun, dolphins spoil fun, it's just how it is, like let's just go have fun. All right, so you're clear? You're going to have a conversation in slightly smaller groups about the difficulties of your direction, but also then moving into the difficulties of others' directions. Dolphins, you're probably going to need quite a long time for this. So that's okay, but we are going to move along, right? So just give you a bit of warning. And you guys split into small groups, even if you do the like,
I suppose these things, I'm always feeling it. It's just this part, I'm not I was reading it, but I just can't bother with all that kind of, it's like really the next thing. Yeah.
Yeah, I agree with that.
Yeah, what is like essential
Some things you can measure for a number of years and a half. And that's usually where I end up in frustration, trying to be like, look, you can't measure the amount of people who are going to respond to this thing that I'm doing right now within a week or within whatever, the way you want it. All
right, anyone in there?
So that's probably my biggest struggle. And also sometimes in the corner, people who are very concerned about relationships. Some people want to have a 4-hour meeting that should only be 45 minutes. And relationships can be managed in a way you may not be doing an hour long and still
Yeah, I feel like you just said that maybe I think it's just something you said about results. Like we kind of argue this, you just know, like the instincts. You just know that stuff works. You see, like physically see results. Like you see how people, you don't have to count it on measurements on the graph, or any of that stuff. And I think that's what's right. It's just works. Well, not all the time, but sometimes that happens. But no, hearsay, all of that.
3, 2, 1, and finish up. All right. So let's just hear from a few different people. So let's have wombat. So what's great about being a wombat? Everything. Let me show you the list. Yeah. So specifically, give us some specifics about what's great about being a wombat.
We look at the data.
And we know what's going on.
Oh, okay. Look, now North aren't even bothered. They're like, oh, what is this thing? We're eating. We're just gonna have our moment. We'll come back to you when we can bothered. All right, come on, okay. All right. So Peter just said we know what the outcome will be. So not only do we know the data, but we actually know how it's going to go. Yeah.
Yeah, we kind of visualize what we want to do.
So you visualize it, but then you also make sure because you guys visualize where you're going to go, don't you?
For sure.
Yeah. Yeah. So like these wombats.
We visualize where they're going to go too.
Pretty much when we visualize is we just see it.
Oh, you just see it. Ah, yeah. Okay.
Visualization is projection.
Okay.
Well, this guy's at the details.
And details in the roadmap, yeah, like specific details of where you need to go, which journey, how that goes, yeah. Okay, and what about like what are some of the problems about those other directions?
It's too late to list.
Just start. Just give us a couple. And don't all let Trudy do it.
We're focusing on.
What's some of the other problems? You can focus on any of them if you want.
Oh, okay. Because see, I totally I didn't love the dog, but I don't want to be.
Oh, you want to be a wombat, but you're actually a dog.
So I came over here.
Oh.
Well, I feel sometimes like a wombat, but being a dolphin, sometimes when you feel too much, you don't get it.
Don't get anywhere. Don't get anywhere. Too busy thinking of feeling. Too busy thinking of feeling. Says the wombats. What the hell's going on with that? Wombats are saying, because, like, sorry, but what's going on with the wombat, no?
Never mind, we're too busy getting shit done.
Too busy getting shit done to pay attention to those people with the data and the information. right? Too busy to pay attention to the people with the data and the information and the actual information how to get there, right? But this plays out. How many people can kind of see some of these dynamics playing out in your own work and in your team?
Yeah. Self-destructive what you're doing.
She makes
Result.
the decision. The kangaroos always get the food. Look at green things, get up.
Absolutely, right? And then
Your logos are everywhere, Sisha.
the dolphins. Tell us a little bit about what troubles you about some of these directions. What are some of the difficulties?
Well, are there regards for the relationships? I think maybe they're missing something.
Let's see how considerate that is, right? Like if that was a dog, they're like, they just fuck things up. But no, a dolphin's just gonna be like, sometimes things are a bit missing. My dolphin. My dolphin, right? We love the dolphins. I remember, right, 2 years ago, I had no idea that they existed. Like, no idea this whole world existed. Sorry, everybody I worked with.
I find that really funny because I, like, in terms of like how I campaign or how I organise or I plan, I might sit more. But like, it's funny because I used to be a prison chaplain, and so it's all about people. It's about being in the moment in people. But that's in that role.
Yeah.
But when I step into another role, which is more about like community, getting things done, I'm not. Which is funny because in one sense, like, I am very much a people person. I do care about. I probably sit with people.
See, we need to defend ourselves from the dolphin.
And so I find that interesting because I'm like, yeah, I am that, but in a role, whereas in this role, in other roles.
And tell us a little bit, Vicky, about some of the difficulties of some of the other roles.
Well, the getting on with it actually might not be asking a why. Actually, are you doing, like, for me, the big bits of why, so that if they're just getting things done, they might actually be going off the direction that's actually taking us away from where we need to be going.
Like they care. They're just like, there's food. There's food. Okay, you'll get that in the end, right? But absolutely, right? So the easterly is like all about why. It's all about where we're going. What about some difficulties with easterlies? There you go. Thank you, Wombat. Thank you. John, were you going to give it
Yeah, pretty much. And not thinking about how we're actually going to get there, like what people do. Who's actually going to do the work?
Oh, you don't have to do that.
Yeah. Who's going to do it?
Ah.
Jamie, can I?
Hang on.
Are you going to
Finish, Vicky. Go. What? Go, Vicky, then.
I'm really frustrated because I've done Myers-Briggs and I'm ENFP. And I know it's English in big picture. I'm J, so ENFJ, but I'm also about structure and organisation. And so I've worked in many organisations and campaigns where there's no planner. So I like, so I don't know. So I know I'm big picture, but I also like plans. So
Isn't it good when somebody else creates the plan?
Well, that's what I was going to say.
yeah. If I could
Can we
do
say what we
big
like
picture,
about the other groups?
Yeah. Totally talk about what you like about other groups.
Because
Go, Alice.
I love data people.
You
and
love them?
Yeah, and I do a bit of coding, but I started life studying architecture, so I guess that's kind of the reason why I'm over here. But we know we can't build stuff. We have millions of really good people who just great on detail as well.
Yeah, cool.
And I like all groups, unless they're going the wrong way. I love it. At least they're a pain in the ass, it's all about me. What? I didn't hear you.
Yeah, cool. What else do we really like about some of the other directions?
I was going to say, like, I chose, as I said before, I was in between these two, south and north, right? But I think that, personally, every single group has an important part to play. And that I just see myself as like maybe one, I have been a strong leader in the past, but I also like to listen to people's feelings, and especially quieter people as well, because they're usually the ones I find who have the best ideas. Yeah, I just talk too much, but they have good ideas. I can actually bring those ideas out of them by engaging with them, and then make them happen. But it's true. But you need the data people. Everyone's been working. Maybe you guys might be the direct action kind of people, but we need the data. We need this. We need that, and with everything together, that's what we make.
It's all the point of the exercise. So absolutely, we need your parts. Right? Absolutely, we need your parts. Now, honestly, have a look at your team that you're working with. Would you say that your team is represented, all elements are represented within your team?
In our campaign team.
In your campaign team, in the team that you're directly working with on something, are all elements represented? Because the other thing about a community organizer, and it's not surprising that people in here are like, but It depends on, because actually for us, as community organisers, it depends on the context. It depends on who we're working with, and actually whether we like it or not, we need to play all roles. Which is why it was so enlightening to me that I didn't know you guys existed.
Too busy being a benevolent dictator.
I was too busy being a benevolent dictator, going, here's the idea, and let's go get it done. That I had no, like seriously, had no regard. So it's hilarious because my husband actually is one badge, yeah. So, but very little regard. And so when I did this exercise, I was kind of reflective enough to kind of go, let me actually consider how I work more effectively with these different elements. And what do I need to do in my organising? What do I need to do in my facilitation to create space for these different elements? Not necessarily just these different elements in myself, but these different elements in my group. Because the thing is, dolphins are not going to turn around to a kangaroo and go, you're full of shit. Often, wombats are busy writing reports about how you're full of shit, but who's going to read them? Because we're too busy doing something.
I like reading them.
You like reading them? The whole report or the summary?
No, I read whole report.
Oh,
I reckon just go through.
yeah.
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 There's always something great in there.
Oh, you got a bit of wombat in you. Yeah.
I've done enough data work.
So what I need to do is with the people around you, have a bit of a conversation to reflect on what do you think this means for your work? What do you think this means for your leadership? Now I'm just going to pick for something you said, Karen. Karen said that, you know, because she's done a lot of leadership. I want you to consider every element is a different style of leadership. Right? Not for each of us, if we're strongly north or we're strongly east, we think leadership looks like our version of leadership. So we can't see the leadership that's present in other areas. So wherever you are on the compass, you're demonstrating leadership. And if you can't see it for the other elements, then there's a job for you to actually look for it. Does that make sense? Mm-hmm. So just notice how we talk about leadership. We talk about it as like the person that's up in front like me talking now. That's leadership, right? But actually, no, that's one style of leadership. That's not actually leadership. John's got a much different, more distinct style of leadership to me, but you'll very rarely hear him in the middle, occasionally kicking in the middle, but you very rarely hear him, but that doesn't mean his leadership is any less than my leadership or a different, it's a different style of leadership. And that's what we need in community organising. So I'm going to give you a few more minutes. Have a chat with the people inside of you. What does this mean for you, your style of leadership, or your organising, or your campaign? Go.
Interesting. I found so last year I'm going straight to mine, but like I worked in a team. Both three of us were an FP, two of them, and I was ENF. And so in the picture about the way that we live in our cities, whereas the J is like organised. So I was working on big picture. Whereas I'm like, I'll write big picture guys. That's like yoga, like you've got to have the big picture, but also have that like understanding like how you actually find things and all that. So there's point just having people account and see how it's or actually practice it sometimes. So
I think you just find someone else's name. This one is actually we all have parts of these values.
and finish. Alright. Wrap it up, thank you. So it's interesting in my reading, as now I know that what exists and people are just thinking before me. So, I need some people to actually. Anyway, so in my reading, one of the things I came across was middle class Western time. Anyone come across middle class Western time? Middle class Western time. It's a type of time, like you know, West Australian Eastern Standard Time, West Australian Standard Time. Right? Middle class Standard Time. It's where time just kind of comes and goes, and you have enough time to do whatever it is you want to do. And you're just going to jam it in. It's kind of northern time. Right? You're just going to jam in whatever needs to happen in that time. So I kind of find it really interesting, right, that so with this, there's also, we think about time in different ways. So it's really, I think it's really interesting, because for me it was really interesting to read the article and go, oh my word, I really don't allow enough time for my wombats and my dolphins, or for me to be a wombat or a dolphin, because I'm so kind of like, well, here's the time between this time and this time. Does that make sense? Yeah. It's white time, right? It's the time that our mainstream society runs on. Michelle?
I was going to say it's like normal time. If I rock up when you go to night, or if I sit there and relax and I'm sort of sitting, it doesn't look like I'm doing much, but I'm really flat out. But you know, you're not really physically talking, taking on. So yeah, I guess you have a lot of no time like that.
Absolutely.
You took a day early.
Yeah, I was at there.
But what's interesting with middle class white standard time is actually it doesn't allow enough space for Noongar time, right? Like it doesn't allow Noongar time. And we then say, well, Noongar time is wrong time, right? That's like whoever it was that did the whole island time, the horrible joke that really wasn't at all funny yet. In fact, it was really, really racist. But we have these blind ways of our leadership styles. Yeah, we have these blind ways of our leadership styles of how it shows up in how we plan workshops, how we plan meetings. How many of us plan 1 hour meetings? Yeah? These guys wouldn't plan a 1 hour meeting. You've not even sat down and got your cup of tea yet.
All gone around the circle.
Right? So it's really interesting. And we might then go, well, if it doesn't show up, there's no problem in our group, but you're not necessarily allowing the leadership of your groups to really flourish. So that's part of the reason for this exercise and part of what we want to do there. Now, I'm going to...
Can we just take 5 minutes, that's why I'm standing over there, can we just take 5 minutes to touch base with everyone and make sure they're okay, Mark?
January one time? Okay.
She's trying to.
All right. So I'm going to send you this. I'm going to give you a couple of minutes before we transition into the next exercise, right? To do a bit of debriefing. But we'll send you this tomorrow. On the bottom of each of these things, it actually says best ways to work with a North. It says best ways to work with a wombat. It says best ways to work with West because they don't have our animals in them, right? So we'll send you this, and you can actually have a look at it, and maybe it'll give you some insight into ways in which you can work with other elements. But also, hopefully, there's going to be some things in yourself that you want to cultivate. Because, as I say, community organisers, we need to be comfortable in all realms. And we at least need to have an appreciation of all realms on campus. So I'm going to give you 2 minutes to just kind of decompress, check in with people, dolphins, go. Spread through the crowd, make sure everyone's okay. And then you're going to need to be in groups of 5.
I just want to add something to what you've been saying, because this is something that we just discussed in our little group. I thought it was really cool.
Hang on! Hold on a second.
I had an idea, well, I thought, so having done the Common Core training, I actually thought that these leadership styles are very much like our values and that we all have bits and pieces of each, and that, you know, we might have strength in one more than the other, But actually, the more we use the other ones, the stronger they become as well. And that's why I'm part on that, because I spent a lot of time in data in the last couple of years. And that's why I've got some of these ones here, because the union that I work in pushes me in this direction all the time.
That's a great resume.
Awesome. All right. You need to be in groups of 5 with people that are not like you and that you don't already know very well. Okay? And let's do. I'm going to take yeah, You guys move that way a little. You guys are just afraid. Okay, you guys trying to keep on the face. Alright. So I'm gonna ask you to do something slightly different. Where you going, Graham? Somebody, no, the wombat is like specifically 5. I mean exactly 5 in a group. Approximately 5. Alright. Are you in a group? Okay, good. 6 is fine. Small bats. Small bats. 6 is fine. 4 is fine. Okay. Bloody dolphin. Shush! Alright. Now remember, I did say the diagnostic tool is just an exercise, right? So although I'm treating you as if you are those things, I know that we're not, right? And we're fluid, but for the reason of this exercise and this workshop, we're going to keep using that sort of posting. So, in your groups, we're now going to have a look. So, that was a lot of conversation around leadership. It might not seem like a conversation around leadership, but actually it is. Also, during those processes, there have been things going on around facilitation. So, we're going to move now into a little bit more exploration of facilitation, leadership, and decision making, but we're going to use a case study. But I'm just going to do a bridging exercise from that to the other. See, that's me giving lots of information for what that and some dolphins so that they feel comfortable. Whereas I could have gone, guys, this is what we're doing to the Northerlies, and they're like, come on! Sorry. So, I'm going to give you a word, and in your group, you're going to create a physical picture of that word. Going back to like what, like down on the road? No. Like, so if I said football, in your group, you've got 5 seconds to create an image of football. So someone might be the ball, someone might be going to kick the ball, goes catching, touch. Somebody might be standing up and being a goalpost, all that kind of stuff, right? You might have cultural differences. You might then have a discussion within your 5 seconds of joining soccer or football. What kind of? They're frozen. They're frozen and still. No moving, no talking. Okay? And you get more than 5 seconds. But let's just warm it up. So the first thing I want you to create a picture of is football, and you have got 10 seconds to create the image. I will say 3, 2, 1, freeze. Bloody, work it out in your group. I'll say 3, 2, 1, freeze, and you freeze in your picture. Everyone clear? Yeah. Everybody in. Everybody in. All right. Are you ready? So the first word I want you to create a picture of is football. Go. No talking. So funny. You're great. You want to just check these guys out and what they're doing. They're weird. All right, shh. Okay. Doesn't have to be like no actual physical contact. Sarah's like, I'm gonna get destroyed. All right. I want you to create an image in your group of facilitation. Go. And breathe. Interesting. Breathe. Have a look around. I want you to create an image of teaching. Go. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, breathe. As you're in these images, think about how you shifted. What shifted from facilitation to teaching? Where did the power shift? What conversation were you having to move it from one place to another? How did the element change? You want to have a look. That's what the difference. There's a distinction between facilitation and teaching, but not to get mistaken. But also, there were a couple of groups where if I was outside looking, I would have thought the facilitation images were teaching because of what physically looked like power dynamics. So you want to start thinking about power dynamics. We touched on this last month. You want to start thinking about the different elements of how all these things work. All right, we're going to move into a case study. Stay in your groups of 5.
Roughly, yeah.
Roughly 5.
We hand these out. So we need 5 in each group. If that makes sense.
Yeah.
Yeah. No. If we've got 6,
Yeah. I need to be honest with you. Is there another group?
yeah, one more group.
You've got 5 there. Well done.
I'll give you 5 minutes to read it. Is that okay?
Yeah, it's not having more practice.
Yeah, it'll give you all the more pen.
What's that one?
Does this mean
there's a lot of information that I've just given you because I am a wombat and I can't promise to do drama or any kind of excitement that Jamie can. So I'm somewhat more anally retentive than that. I will start taking you through this, and then if we've got questions before we start, we can go through them. So the scenario that we've got is real, and when I met with Jamie last week, which for a wombat to say that I have to do this tonight was a little bit much, especially as she turned up with her beautiful daughter as well, and I had that to deal with in a small meeting room in a union. You know, 'cause we're all about gender equality. Anyway, she said, oh, you know, we'll do things, it's fine, we'll just go with it, we'll go with the flow. I don't go with the flow. So what you've got is a real life scenario. This was 2014, I've not been in the country long. And all of a sudden, the Barnet, well, not, I guess not all of a sudden, but the Barnet government announced a cut to the Equal Opportunity Commission, a fairly substantial one when their budget is much more than the 0.5 million. And the cut removed the Commission's Substantive Equality Unit, and therefore, as I said, the public sector's watchdog in relation to substantive equality. And then what they did as well, they further exacerbated that with an announcement of a review, a public sector commission review. And then in the weeks that followed that, all manner of community groups came together to work with us as the union, who represented the workers at the Equal Opportunity Commission. So advocacy organisations, unions, individuals, NGOs, all manner of organisations and individuals came to work with us. And what we did together is we ran a campaign under the banner of Some More Equal Than Others, and formed an alliance, and we facilitated a series of joint submissions to the review, which is the task that you have before you. So each of you in the group is a particular role. So one of you is a union, one of you is an advocacy, and we'll look at that one. One of you is an advocacy organisation, there's a religious group, there's a few different organisations and individuals within each group. And the idea is I want you as a team to draft a joint statement, so in the way that we did, faced with this exact scenario. So for inclusion in each organisation's submission to the review, and the submission must include the group's position and some rationale. So the idea is that you need to try and reach consensus about the coming at it from different perspectives, and so each of you in the different organisations have got different views on things, and that will become clear as you start to have your group discussions. So as I said, each team member is tasked with playing a role of an organisation. Each organisation has its own internal decision-making structures and processes, and so that will become clear as people seek to play their part. You're going to bring in your own interest, views and opinions to that, but you'll need to decide as a team how to complete the task in the allotted time, which is around 30 minutes. There are a number of different processes available, but as you see, I've outlined in bullet point form, so I'm a wombat. Some of the steps there to define the problem, present the background, you're going to generate some ideas within the group. You're going to group those ideas, you might choose a few of those ideas and check commitment within the group as well. The idea being that what you'll then do is you will write down in bullet point form, please, the things that you've reached consensus around. Does that make
Could you
sense?
explain what the substantive equality unit did?
Yeah, okay, so so if, for example, the public sector is about to change a policy, and I don't know, the policy might be, what we're going to do is we're going to make it so that the counter height at the Department of Housing is 5 centimetres higher. The Substantive Equality Unit would have been part of ensuring that a needs and impact assessment was undertaken to ensure that there wasn't any disproportionate impact on any particular section or group within the community, and that went with the cut. So, for example, now the Department of Housing could
raise its counters by 5 centimetres, therefore making it inaccessible to some people. Does that
Is that clear?
make sense?
Anyone need another example of what they would do?
Okay. So,
All right, we'll do this, what the substantive equality is, and then we'll look at that.
yeah, so really the idea is that if a public sector organisation, so I guess a good example would be with police and Frontline 2020. I don't know if you're familiar with that, which is the new way of policing within Western Australia. That particular idea, if you like, and what's been borne out in policy, the Substantive Equality Unit would have been part of working with WA Police to look at, well, what might be the impact of the policy changes that you're bringing about. So if you are changing the way that you police in the state, fundamentally, what might be the impact of that on Aboriginal people? What might be the impact of that in terms of LGBTIQ status? What might be the impact of that on women, for example? And are there any particular impacts of that? How can we mitigate against those? What can we do in terms of changing the policy? So I wouldn't worry too much about what the unit did. The idea here is to come together around being one of your organisations within there and drafting a joint statement around what you want to achieve as a group.
So to clarify the roles, what's your specific question?
Yeah.
I was just reading the dot points of 4 to 2.
Yep.
And then we have to focus each of us on this in terms of our input to that.
Yes. Yes.
No,
Yeah.
you are that.
You are that.
If you say a member of parliament and you choose a very specific, like I can't, left wing or very right wing, or
You can-
doesn't matter.
As long as it fits within the role.
Yeah. Yeah. I've intentionally not made it political. You are just a member of parliament. So
It's more general things.
it is. Bring to that what you want. So the idea is that you're going to try and formulate within the groups a joint position, a series of joint statements that can go into a series of submissions, so that we can show some solidarity across the movement. That was the intention. So the ultimate thing that we did was we made sure that there were nearly 30 submissions to the review, and we were part of facilitating that. But that each of those 30 submissions had a series of joint collective statements that were made by each of the organisations that came together to form part of that.
Any other clarification questions, Tim?
So each group, are we allowed to tell each other what the points are as a best to ourselves?
Let's see how it goes.
You said you weren't going to provide drama. I think this is going to get pretty dramatic.
I don't know. I think it's confusing. But what I'll do, I'd say, because I appreciate there's a lot of information there. Let's have a go. I'll come out and we'll see how that's working. But I said, if you get in a character, you are whatever it says on your piece of paper. Be you member of parliament, union, advocacy organisation, religious organisation, whichever the other one is. That's correct. You are bringing to the group dynamic different perspectives, and the idea is that you're going to need to work with those different perspectives to try and reach an agreed position. Okay, so if we make a start, and I'll come out. Is that all right?
Yeah, I understand
I apologize to anyone who is
Not many.
It's not just
the review is to be taught, is to examine the
I would say that.
So then why would you have a screen or totally straight? Yeah, it's just totally like, it makes total sense, like, because you have a lot of knowledge and so personally, you can see how the parents, especially me, losing my it would make a lot of difference, right? So you can see pretty clearly that, but you know, because they're not fine, maybe why you would take
I'm interested.
So anyway, the idea of
So, yeah, what decisions do you